by now you've probably all heard Attorney General William Barr testified before Congress today, or tried to, when they let him talk. And it was 4.5 hours of some of the most outrageous television time, if you watched it on television. The most outrageous time of congressional hearings I've ever watched. In fairness, I haven't watched tons, but it was crazy. It's been described everywhere as fireworks. That does not do it justice. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to pack 4.5 hours of congressional hearings into what I think will be like a 20-25 minute video. This will be one of my longer videos, but for everybody that bails like 60% of the way through that, because that's about the average, don't leave. The 60% of the way, you are just getting going. This will be worth it. Get a drink, hang in there, stick with me. I'm Jared, this is RedRacer Video, former car vlogger. Now I'm an independent citizen journalist. You make that possible. Your donations through Patreon, PayPal, and Venmo make this possible. If it wasn't for you guys doing that, I could not do this. This is my work. I spent 9+ hours today watching this thing, going through it over and over, making notes, packing it in. You made that possible. Thank you. If you see value, only if you see value. 3 places to support the channel in the description: Patreon, PayPal, Venmo. Let's bang on this thing. This is going to be insane. Let's go. Like I said in the opener, it's going to be one of my longer videos, but it's going to be outrageous, okay? Nadler came right out of the gate swinging. Right? Nadler, absolutely. Each part of this video, I think you're going to, and if you see shaking, you're not tripping. My camera's shaking because I'm touching my computer. Each part of the video, you're going to see stuff that you're going to go, it couldn't get worse, right? Like, this is the worst part. He said the worst part was still coming up. This had to be the worst part. It's not. Don't leave. It does get worse, okay? This is an embarrassment for the Democratic Party in our country. I know that a lot of people that are Democrats in this country that had even a shred of dignity left, or a shred of decency left, watched what happened today and said, I've got to go. Like, I'm leaving. Blexit, Lexit, Black exit, Latino exit, just the exit of the Democratic Party. They should just call it Dexit, Democratic exit. It's over. If you guys are still hanging on to it, watch today's video, and I don't think you will. Just keep going. Well, here we go. Nadler came right out of the gate attacking the president, okay? He's the ringleader, the chairman, so he gets to call the shots. He abuses it all day long. He abuses his power. Jim Jordan is the majority or the ranking member. He kind of can interject, but Nadler can overrule every time, and he does, and he abuses it. Jim Jordan has nothing in this thing. Comes right out of the gate, just basically shows us right out of the gate what their whole thing is going to be. All the lies they're going to tell us, what they're going to stick with all day, and they're at least consistent. I'll give the Democrats that. All day they stick with the same things. Not before he tells everybody, wear your masks or else. So to remind the American public, be scared of the virus. Okay, here we go. You ready? Still be scared of the virus. It's still a thing. It's not fake. Here we go. You guys sure you know? Still a virus, still a thing, not made up. Got it? Okay. All right, hearing can begin. Little passive-aggressive move there, maybe to hold a little bit of power, like he's going to do the whole rest of the meeting also? Probably. Here we go. So this is what happens. Keeping in mind really quickly, the opening statement is where Nadler can just rattle a bunch of stuff off, not get stopped. It's not where he's questioning William Barr. Jim Jordan, not anybody can step in and stop him. A couple of people get this opportunity throughout, but Nadler, this is his shot. So here's what he says. He uses this entire time to lie and push the left's narrative to us again. And these are narratives we've heard for 3 years. We've known all this stuff. The lies about Trump being a Russia guy. They've lied to us about William Barr being his henchman. All that stuff they've tried to tell us. Blah, blah, blah. We've heard it all. But they just went through and reiterated all of this stuff again. He spent his whole opening statement just repeating the lies that we've already proven to be lies, like it revalidates it somehow because he said it again today. No, dude, it doesn't. They're all still lies. You guys are all still crooks, and we all know. As does Attorney General William Barr, and he's coming after you, and we all know that we're just here for you guys to try and discredit him before he sends you all to Gitmo. Okay? Each individual Democrat used their time to push the same set of lies. I'm going to break down what they are really quick so that as I blow through them and tell you that I'm not going to break down what they said, you know why. It's because they said this. This is what they said. These are the lies they're pushing. The virus should still be keeping the country shut down. We should still be scared. The people destroying cities and killing people aren't actually destroying cities and killing people. That's a myth. That's not real. But if they were, they would only be doing it because the federal, I think it's U.S. agents, have recently gone into cities to try and help keeping businesses from being destroyed and to try and help stop people from dying. That's why they've gone in. It's not like they're just in there harassing people. They kept trying to lead us to believe they're in there just gassing innocent people. It's not what happens. Has somebody that isn't beating up cops maybe been gassed? Sure, but it's probably because some idiot 10 feet away from them launched a 5-gallon pail of paint and hit a cop in his face. Hang around stupid people, have stupid stuff happen to you. Don't go down where you can clearly see there's people trying to hurt police. This is common sense stuff. And these are nonsensical people. But this doesn't stop them. Let's keep going. Again, things that they're going to tell us all day long. Even though the death and destruction, keeping in mind, people have been dying in Democratic cities for 60 days. Federal agents have just gone in like in the last week. But again, still pushing it. Then they tried to tell us the whole time that Barr is just trying to do what Trump wants and that he's not following the Constitution, even though there is no evidence of that. They have nothing. The only little piece of evidence they have of that is where they try and say that because Barr reduced Stone's sentence, he stepped in and helped Trump's buddy. He broke this down over and over and over today, but I'm going to do it for you one time so that I don't have to keep doing it through the video. He broke this down and multiple Democratic governors reiterated this with their new spin, but what he said collapsed their whole story, and I'm going to break it down for you again. Stone's case, what he did was he called a dude and was telling him, if you keep doing this, I'm going to make your life hard and I'm going to come get your dog or something. What Stone said was stupid. He was kind of threatening of somebody that was going to be a witness. The Attorney General even said, I was the one pushing on that case. Like I said, he should get jail time. I was with them. What Attorney General Barr didn't like, and once it got brought to his attention, what he did was he reduced Stone's sentence from like 7 to 9 years back down to 3 years, because every other case, every other precedent is what they use the word precedent, which is basically any other case they can go back to say, here's what we've done before. So any other precedent that they could find, the person in that case got 3 years. So Stone shouldn't get more than double or maybe 3 times the sentence because he's Trump's buddy. So, okay, he shouldn't get favoritism for being Trump's buddy, but he shouldn't get double the punishment. And Barr didn't try to give favoritism, but he didn't try to give double the punishment. He tried to punish him. He just tried to punish him consistent with everything else we've ever seen. He destroyed them every time. They kept bringing it up. You'd think they'd be smarter than that, but they didn't. They kept bringing it up. They know they're screwed. They know Barr is about to burn their entire whole thing down, and they just keep attacking him. Barr even mentioned in his opening statement that the whole reason he accepted the Attorney General job again, he's over 70. He was riding off into the sunset. This dude's filthy rich. Let's call it what it is. He had already left government work to work in the private sector. He pointed that out on purpose for a reason, I think. He then also pointed out that he was the AG under President Bush, who was a Republican. He then pointed out that he only came back to government work because he was promised by President Trump he'd be able to just do whatever he wanted, carte blanche, just follow the rules, do what you think is right. He pointed that out right after he said that he worked for Bush before. Felt to me like that was his way of messaging that when he worked for Bush, he didn't get to do what he wanted and he didn't get to follow the rule of law, and that's why he wanted to leave government work, and that's why he had been working in the private sector before Trump called him back. That's what I took from that. Here we go. Let's see what else I've got here. If I go back to my notes a lot today, guys, forgive me. I don't want to screw up and I don't want to keep repeating stuff, but I really want to, I got to hit all this stuff. And anybody who leaves 50 or 60% of the way through videos, usually, I get it. Some of the stuff gets repetitive. Don't do that today. Today is not that video. Hang in there. This gets, every time I think it does, you'll think it can't get better, it gets better. Because every time today I thought it couldn't get better, and by better I mean more embarrassing for Democrats, it did get better, more embarrassing for Democrats. Nadler's next embarrassing thing that he said, your tenure has been marked by a persistent war against the department's professional corps in an apparent attempt to secure favors for the president. Here are my thoughts on that. Has it, Nadler? Or has his tenure been marked by him actually investigating the crimes of the Clintons, the Obamas, Biden, the FBI, DOJ, CIA, Nadler himself, countless other politicians, Republicans even, cough, cough, Mitt Romney? That's what he's doing, and that's what his tenure is being marred by. He hasn't swung his fist in anything. He really hasn't. He's not abusing anything. You guys just know what he's about to go and do, and that's why you guys are crapping your pants. Nadler then says, we now see the full force of the federal government brought to bear against citizens demonstrating for the advancement of their own civil rights. No, Nadler, we see federal officers going into cities that are being destroyed, and cities where women, children, men, police are being killed each and every day for now 60 straight days. All democratically run cities where they have just wiped their hands clean, defunded police, released prisoners into cities, and then said that Trump's a dictator and a tyrant. Is that a word? Tyrant? Yeah, I think I did that right. Because he pushed federal U.S. Marshals in to help defend federal places and federal agents. Those people are not demonstrating for the advancement of their civil rights. Those people are rioting, looting, and killing people. And they are part of a paid insurgency by the Democratic National Committee that includes Antifa and Black Lives Matter. I'm saying that for the people out here still who don't know that. I know a lot of the people watching this video get that, but we've got to repeat some of this for the new people watching, because I know we've got a little new people watching. Quick shout out to all the new people watching. Also, quick shameless promotion. Subscribe, make sure you like, leave a comment before you go, please. Those things all help a lot. We know they're just trying to hold the economy down, make everybody scared, and make everybody in the next few months go, man, okay, let's just vote Trump out so that this stuff will stop. Not what's going to happen because America's waking up, but that's their game plan. That's what they're hoping for, and so that's why they're so consistent with all this push. Nadler's next moronic statement. There is no precedent for the DOJ to actively seek out conflict with American citizens under such a flimsy pretext or under such petty for such petty purposes. Let me tell you what those flimsy pretexts are, or what those petty purposes are. You ready? 18 people died in a 24-hour period in Chicago the other day. That's just in one day. Hundreds of people. I bet you. I don't know. I haven't kept track because it's depressing. But I bet you we've eclipsed probably 1,000 people now that have just been killed in cold blood. Not by federal agents in the streets, by Black Lives Matter, by Antifa, and by insurgents that are going in, and sometimes it starts in a demonstration or a peaceful protest, but these people go into them and spark off these massive things in them, and then they try to do everything in their power to make sure the demonstrators and the peaceful protesters are the ones that also get the brunt of the federal agents defending themselves. This isn't rocket scientist. This isn't rocket science. But they keep saying all this stuff. And again, he never lets anybody come in and point this out. So that's why I'm doing that in this video. I'm doing what he never gave Attorney General Barr or anyone else the opportunity to do, which is call him on his bullcrap. Babies are being shot almost daily in streets. If you are now seeing almost daily a child or baby dies, sometimes even in a car seat, is that a flimsy pretext? Is that a petty purpose to send in federal agents? I don't feel like it is. I bet you their parents don't. What about any of this is flimsy? You human piece of waste, Jerry Nadler. You are unreal. He then goes on to lie about the false flag flu some more. Feed in some more false stats. Some more stats that if you say them the wrong way and in the wrong context, they look bad and make us all scare again. Hashtag unmask. Shirts available. Oh, I really think it'll be tomorrow. As long as there's not another hearing that I've spent 9 hours on. In my defense, I defaulted to bring you guys today's hearing as quickly as I could today. Get merchandise up later. So I want them out too, I promise. And I'm only saying that because I get, not flooded, but I get a lot of messages. I know you guys want them very, very close. I think tomorrow. I'm trying. But I'm trying harder to make sure you guys are watching what's happening because this is important. Lastly, he finished off by giving a list of Attorney General Barr's failures, okay? Here is his list of failures. I got a kick out of this. The department engaged Americans and violated their constitutional rights by flooding federal law enforcement into the streets of American cities against the wishes of state and local leaders of those cities to forcefully and unconstitutionally suppress dissent. So he's making it sound like these Democratic leaders had this under control, no big deal, let these people peacefully protest, and then Trump said, no, I'm coming in, and Trump just went in there and put a bunch of people in chokeholds. When, in fact, what happened was these Democratic, and I know some of this is getting repetitive, but these Democratic leaders wiped their hands clean, told police to stand down, defunded police departments so they couldn't even afford to pay police, and they released thousands of prisoners at the very same time. They made those cities war zone. The people see this now. I know the mainstream media is not reporting any of this stuff, but enough people like me are posting these videos online. People are seeing what's happening. The Democrats are guilty of exactly what they are accusing Attorney General Barr and our president of. This whole hearing was them projecting on everyone else what they themselves are guilty of. The blood is on their hands, and everyone knows this, and they know that we know this. They are terrified. This list continues, and it is comical. He says, at your direction, department officials have downplayed the effects of systemic racism and abandoned the victims of police brutality. They've refused to hold police accountable, and they've expressed open hostility towards the Black Lives Matter movement. I am kind of astounded that they even bring Black Lives Matter up anymore. Real quick breakdown for the people who haven't seen it yet, and most of you probably have. Black Lives Matter does not advance any black person whatsoever. It does not help any black people. Most of the people marching in it are little skinny white people who just so happen to be the same people that are in Antifa, weird. They are not represented by many black people at all. The ones that are the ones that have sold out, or the ones that are very manipulated and don't understand what's happening. And the paper trail clearly shows that all the money that goes to Black Lives Matter actually funds a bunch of people in the Democratic National Committee and on the left. So, again, I'm astounded that they're even gutsy enough to bring this up anymore. He then says the department has spread disinformation about voter fraud and failed to enforce voting rights and attempted to change the census rules. No, what they tried to do with the census was ask people that have people living in their home that aren't citizens of the country yet to tell us how many are there, so that we can use those people and not count those people toward the amount of votes electorally that state gets. You should not get more electoral votes for illegal citizens. Illegal immigrants, I'm sorry, should not vote in our elections. Don't care if you like me saying that or not. Don't care. That's what happened with that. But again, he was just banging this out so nobody could respond, so I'm responding. Then he said, at the president's request, the DOJ has amplified the president's conspiracy theories and shielded him from the responsibility by blatantly misrepresenting the Mueller report and failing to hold foreign actors accountable for their attacks on our elections, undermining both national security and the department's professional staff in the process. No, dude, it's not what happened at all. What happened was the Mueller probe was a joke. He wasted $30 million. Mueller didn't even know it was in his report at the end. When they questioned him at the end, he embarrassed himself and everybody involved. And now they're going after the people that were clearly involved because declassified notes have shown that Obama, Biden, Brennan, Comey, Clapper, everyone involved were involved in the beginning in setting them up in all of this. They had nothing to go on. They quite literally have in writing that they know they had nothing to go on. They set them up anyway. They got false warrant after false warrant on lie after lie. And now they know AG Barr is going after them for it. And they're trying to say that AG Barr is just doing Trump's dirty work. No, he just knows what you did. And you're just screwed. And America knows too. And I'm calling you on it, just like AG Barr and everybody else is calling you on it. So just because you didn't let dude talk one time today in 4.5 hours doesn't mean that the American people don't see through your crap. Again and again, this is again what Nadler's saying. Again and again, you personally have interfered with ongoing criminal investigations to protect the president and his allies from the consequences of their actions. When career investigators and prosecutors resisted the brazen, unprecedented actions, you replaced them with less qualified staff that appeared to be singularly beholden to you. So what he's saying is, all the people that got fired in the FBI because they got caught lying, or all the people in government and all the CEOs, what this was a blanket statement that all the people who have been fired already, who have quit their big, powerful jobs, he called them successful and established, meaning the people who have been there for 50 and 60 years and have been keeping this lie going. What he's saying is that they all left because President Trump's a crook and not because they're all dirty and they know they're screwed. Again, bull crap, Jerry. We all know better, okay? Then he says, finally, the department has placed the president's political needs over the public health challenges by placing stay-at-home orders in the states placed in the hardest pandemic, blah, 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 okay? So he's kind of done with his thing. Jim Jordan goes off, and I'm going to start trying to paraphrase here. This is where I'm going to go fast, so I'm going to rattle through a lot. Don't let me lose you. I know this is my longest video ever, but don't go. Again, 4.5-hour hearing. I'm trying to smash it in. Jim Jordan goes off and just says spying. That one word, spying. And he went on and he basically made it very clear that AG Barr is attacking these people for what they've done. He is simply following the facts to their crimes, and they are attacking him for that and that alone. He was very short, very succinct, and just did it. He also went through and pointed out that the timeline, and it made it very clear that the Obamagate is the thing, and that they're all screwed, and that they set up Carter Page. That whole thing was a scam. He also brought up the fact that they weaponized the intelligence agencies against the presidential candidate and then continued the spying well after he was in office. And they came in and did it under the pretext of a defensive briefing. What else did he say here? Oh, this is my note. The people that lied to the press to create this whole thing, you guys realize that then they went and used the fact that, oh, the New York Times is reporting that this happened. Which, like, that makes it gospel? That makes it a thing? That doesn't mean anything. And we only know that because Grinnell declassified the testimonies of all the people that Schiff hid from everybody, all the closed-door testimonies, all the basement testimonies they wouldn't allow anybody to see. We know that all these notes came out. We know that all this stuff happened. We know it was all a scam, that they were setting him up. They admitted that they were either trying to get him to lie or trying to get him fired. One of the two. We know that. It was beautiful. Jim Jordan stops then and kind of did a switcheroo on him. They played a video that nobody knew was coming, and it was a bad video. It showed everything. Everybody that a lot of you guys have seen. People getting hurt, fires, destruction, all the bad stuff. It was absolutely genius. It was the demonstrators that they had just spent the 10 or 15 minutes or whatever leading up to that telling us we're peaceful and women and mayors and such. It was the worst thing that could have happened to the Democrats at that point because they sat, like I said, for so long trying to convince us otherwise. Countless officers have been permanently damaged in all this. Countless officers have died. Again, other people have died. Peaceful protesters have died. Just they're on Trump's side, so nobody cares. You can see, as this video played, the Democrats were scrambling to try and find a way that they could jump in and stop this video from being played. They knew how bad this was for them. They knew how bad this looked. You could see guys standing behind Nadler looking at their clocks, passing in papers of things to say, doing everything they could. And at the end, Nadler said, you know, you kind of put that in on us. We didn't know it was coming. Rightfully so. They screwed him real bad by playing that. Here's what Barr's opening statement was. So Barr got one opportunity to talk without getting interrupted consistently. This is what it was. And I'll paraphrase it because, again, I got to start flying. I can see how long this video is getting. The first words out of Republican AG Barr's mouth were him paying respects to the Department of Justice, on behalf of the Department of Justice. He said, I want to pay respects for the passing of Democratic Congressman John Lewis. He didn't say Democratic, I added that. So in this hearing, not one person with national attention and all the cameras on him, not one of the people yet, because to that point, it was just Jerry Nadler, a Democrat. Nobody mentioned this dude. Nobody gave any dap to John Lewis, who had a wrinkled flag on his coffin, for what it's worth. I don't think he's a good guy, but for professional purposes, A.G. Barr still, as a Republican, was the first one to point that out. He then pointed out that Congressman Lewis pursued his cause passionately and with an unwavering commitment to violence. So he immediately went into being very clear about what he was going to defend, which was explaining very clearly why he's been in all these cities. He then assured everyone he's handling his job with independent judgment just as he's committed to, and that one set of rules is being used, and that's basically why everybody hates him. He noted that the president has told him from day one to make whatever call feels right. And he said that the president's never looking over his shoulder and telling him stuff. He just doesn't. He also noted at one point the president makes his life hard sometimes. He then addressed the George Floyd hoax, and I added in hoax, that's my word, by pointing out some inconvenient truths that the left refuses to acknowledge because they just keep pushing race division in this country, right? They have to divide us. They got to divide us Republican, Democrat. They got to divide us as everything as they can. They got to divide us as black, white. They got to divide us as people that like transgender, people that don't believe in it. Just whatever it is, have to put us in groups, okay? So this is what he addressed. He said the country was racist until the 60s. Laws formally changed then, and since then, things have been different. Not perfect, but different. He said that the police forces are more diverse than ever, which is true. There are a lot of people with ethnic backgrounds in police forces. He said even events like George Floyd are actually quite rare. Starts hitting them with facts. These are all the inconvenient truths that the Democrats and the left refuse to acknowledge. Unarmed black men killed by police so far this year, 8. Unarmed white men killed by police so far this year, 11. He then acknowledges that reform is still needed, but that it needs to be done legally, and they need to do it taking a whole bunch of factors into consideration, because just saying what color the person was is clearly not a fair or an efficient way to go about it. He said that the leading cause of death, again, another inconvenient truth here, the leading cause of death in black males each year is homicide. Each year, on average, 7,500 people die. 7,500 black males die. 90% are killed at the hands of other black males, mainly by gunfire. Each of those black lives, he said, should have mattered, which is very true. All of this falls apart when you start to consider the fact that while they're out peacefully demonstrating about Black Lives Mattering, young black men are killing lots of black men, women, and children in the streets of democratic cities every single night. Your whole argument is horse crap, and it falls on itself completely. And again, your money's not going to Black Lives Matter at all, and most people pushing the Black Lives Matter movement are little skinny white people. Violent rioters and anarchists are hijacking legitimate protests to wreak senseless havoc and destruction. This, again, is A.G. Barr hitting them with facts. We know what happens, and this goes back into what I said earlier, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Peaceful people over here, crazy people roll up, throw stuff over them, make them part of the problem, whatever. Nadler starts feeding into a new narrative that gets pushed a lot throughout this video. He says the president just wants footage for his campaign ads, and you appear to be serving it up for him. In most of the cities, the protests have been peaceful, and they've begun to wind down. The protesters aren't mobs. They are mothers, mayors, and children. Again, just blatantly ignoring reality. He goes and just feeds the lie again. He then keeps going because he doesn't let anybody talk, because if we don't stop him, CNN can just play that and it becomes gospel again, right? You're projecting fear and violence nationwide in pursuit of obvious political objectives. Shame on you, Mr. Barr. Shame on you. He said that as his time was expiring. He made sure to get the last words in right at the end. Blatantly obvious. Blatantly obvious. This is quite literally the left projecting fear and violence and the pursuit of their obvious political objectives. This was blatantly obvious from the beginning. From the obvious outset of this is what happened. After this, and I'm going to try now to paraphrase as quickly as I can through this, but everything I'm about to say to you is going to knock your socks off. Moron after moron that has been elected into our country's leadership. This astounds me. To anybody who hears the name, if you're a constituent, if somebody gets named in the next few minutes, you owe it to us to go fix this election. Don't just vote for a president. Get involved in all of them. Get these people out, please. Barr points out that Trump hasn't indicted one enemy. Barr points out, that he has not yet indicted one enemy of Trump. And to this point, he also was the one that indicted Stone and advocated jail time. What he said he wasn't cool with was the prosecuting attorneys pushing for a sentence that was 2 or 3 times longer than the sentence of any other person that had happened to that point. That's all he said. He made that very clear, and he made that very clear multiple times. So if I just repeated that now, I can't remember if I did or didn't. It's because he said that over and over in this hearing, and they just kept repeating themselves in an attempt to make it like it didn't happen. He then pointed out that Stone was 67 and a first-time offender. 67, first-time offender, and you're doubling his sentence for any other sentence that's been given out for this. He basically said the president's friends don't deserve favors, but they don't deserve twice the punishment. I think I said that earlier. I can't remember now. Representative Mike Johnson from Louisiana went on to crush the Democrats by pointing out that Attorney General Eric Holder, while he was the AG for Obama, bragged that he was Obama's wingman and said that he was Obama's boy. I didn't make that up. I'm quoting him. I'm Obama's wingman. I'm his boy. He said those things. Democrat Lofgren from California. This is where I'm going to just start rattling through a few stupid things each person said, but this is good. Democrat Lofgren from California, who clearly should be an expert on failure because Democrat is an absolute crap show. Okay? People are leaving there left and right. You got homeless people left and right. You got violence left and right. People dying left and right. You're the last person on earth that should ever act like you're smart. Yeah, here we are. She points out that the video is only about diverting attention. Diverting attention? Why would we divert attention? You guys created and released what is going on right now. We know that this was a biological weapon that got released with the help of Gates and Obama because he gave $3.7 million to Wuhan Institute of Virology, and that got released there. And then the World Health Organization lied to people to suppress the information after China didn't tell them about it for a while. And then they tried to keep the country open when Trump tried to shut the country down. They called him a racist while he shut the country down. Why would we be diverting attention to this stuff? We're actually wanting to point out all this stuff that you morons have done through all of this. We're also wanting to point out that this stuff is just reflects badly on this democratically run cities. Not many Republican places have these problems. Get a grip, lady. You're so far off. It's humiliating. Oh, this is what's also funny. She was doing this from her house, and she's reading her phone the whole time, kind of like I'm reading from my computer. But what's funny about hers is her phone kept going bing, 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 bing. So when George Soros or Hillary Clinton or whoever, Obama, was texting her what she was going to say next, we could hear the messages coming through. So I wrote in my notes, P.S. lady, we can hear the text messages coming through from the deep state as you're reading them to us. And then what's amazing afterwards is that Jim Jordan tried to file a point of order and say, can you ask her to shut her phone? Not Jim Jordan, I think it was somebody else. I think it was, might have been the guy from Louisiana, but he said, can you ask her to silence her phone since she couldn't show up for work? Could she silence her cell phone when she's doing her job from home so it's not disrupting the rest of us? And of course, that point of order was not recognized. That was erroneous, right? That was not something was okay. This got really, really embarrassing for everybody. It really, really did. Texas Democrat Sheila Jackson fed into the race war narrative. Big shocker. Black Democratic. We knew where that was going, right? As a black lady, she holds the cards. She can speak because she has experience that I'm sure, and I'm not saying she hasn't, but it's really hard to argue with her. So we knew what she was going to push. She pushed it. How is Barr under testimony about this at all? They're just pushing a narrative. She contributed nothing positive to this hearing. All she did was say things and repeat things. She even went as far as to bring up the Rashad Brooks thing again. Real quick reminder, guys, he's the guy that died in a Wendy's drive-thru. But when she talked about it, she said she breezed through it, and again, did not let Barr answer or anyone else, so I'm stopping her and answering what she was saying. She said, Rashad Brooks, who was killed in a Wendy's drive-thru for sleeping in a Wendy's, oh no, he was killed in his car for sleeping in a Wendy's parking lot. Let's really briefly revisit that, shall we? He got shot, and I do feel bad for him for getting shot, but he got shot for passing out drunk in a Wendy's drive-thru, not for sleeping in a Wendy's parking lot. And then the police officers were very cool to the dude for a long time, and when they finally were like, he's wasted, and went to arrest him, there was a fight, and he was swinging on cops, took their weapons, shot at them, was running away, shot at them again, and then they fired at him, which, was it the best move? In hindsight, maybe not. But do I feel bad for him? Absolutely not. Those officers could have been killed, okay? But she just breezed through that and only told you his name, that he fell asleep in his car, and the cops killed him for it. This whole thing was very frustrating. Republican Doug Collins pointed out something to me that was very obvious. They aren't after Barr for anything he's done, but they're after him for what they know he's going to do. He has it all, and they are he has it all, and they are doing what they always do. They're projecting. They're just putting out all the things they've done to try and discredit the people that are going to be coming after them. We know this. And Doug Collins just went through and said that. So we're moving past that. Another Democrat, Hank Johnson, totally tried to answer his own questions with his questions and denied AG Barr the opportunity to answer his questions like everyone else did. Representative Johnson was implying that in his question that the sentence for Stone was reduced by Barr. So he just went down the same road, again, not giving Barr the chance to repeat why he actually stepped in the Stone case. There is absolute precedent for him to defend what he did. Not going to repeat that one. Not doing that. Not rehashing that. Florida Democrat Ted, I think Deutsch, he followed suit. The same game, same bullcrap. It was really blatantly obvious. They just kept trying to keep him from talking. Democrat after Democrat at this point went up, didn't let him talk. Several, not like one or two, at one after another, after another, after another. The only time he got to talk was when Republicans yielded their time and didn't ask their questions so that he could actually talk. They cut him off almost every single time. Not an exaggeration. Sorry, I got to get back to my notes so I stay on task, and I don't make this any longer than it is. I can see that I'm going to push 40 minutes. Holy crap. Don't leave. This is still so good. He was saying again that AG Barr reduced the sentence of Stone. Again, I'm not going to beat that down. Sorry for hitting that note again. I made a note in here that by this point in the video, I had decided for myself that our Congress is a joke. And I don't mean just Democrats, but their format, the way that they do these things, the fact that no one else could step in and stop the mental and verbal abuse and emotional abuse, and I'm not being exaggerative there. What they did to our Attorney General was absolutely an embarrassment and a joke. And the fact that nobody could step in there, and there's got to be a change. There's got to be some change. Another Democrat from California, Karen Bass, stated that our laws aren't applied equally. Why, do you ask? She gave us some stats, which is nice. She said 34% of prisoners are black, while just 13% of the U.S. population is black. This approach is a complete fail. It indicates how much of the crime is committed by such a small amount of our population. Now combine that with the fact that 8 unarmed black Americans died at the hands of police this year, while 11 unarmed white Americans died at the hands of police this year. So think about that. Pile that up. And yeah, I know a lot of this gets kind of like there's a lot of things to keep track of, but there are more white people than black people. And I'm not stereotyping anyone. I have more ethnic friends than I have white friends. But I have to point these things out because the numbers matter. There are more white people than there are black people. There are more black people killed, more black people arrested and imprisoned than there are white people, which is an indication that there are far more police interactions with black males than there are white males. So there are more white people, but somehow there are more interactions with black people, and there are more black people arrested and imprisoned, but there are less white people killed. So a whole bunch more black people run into cops, but somehow a whole bunch more black people or more white people die. Like 64% more white people die. Your argument collapses on itself. Explain to me how I'm missing that, because I don't feel like I am. I'm pretty sure I'm not. Again, it just goes back to them just trying to spin stats. They're saying we're using stats in the wrong context. You're using them misleadingly. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next thing because I feel like what I was about to say I've already hashed a lot. We can't also ignore the fact that everyone defending the Black Lives Matter movement and everyone trying to pretend that they care about black folks are the same people who made this happen. Let's not forget how we got here. We got here because of laws that Joe Biden himself passed like 30 years ago that put a lot of black fathers in jail and paid black women to be at home and be alone. So not only did they make rules that put a lot of black men in prison, fed the drugs into the community, put the men in jail for pushing the drugs, and then after that, they incentivized the women to stay single by paying them more than they would make if the black men were at home and had a job. So even if the women found a dude they liked, they didn't want to marry him because they'd lose their check. They did this on purpose. They knew exactly what this would do to the black family. And now that they're here, and now they got exactly what they wanted, they think that you and I are too stupid to know that, and they're going to blame Barr and President Trump for all of this. This is all his fault in the last 3 years. Democratic Representative Cedric Richmond, this one's great too. He continued the verbal assault of AG Barr immediately after by telling him that he should have kept John Lewis's name out of his mouth. I'm quoting him. You should keep John Lewis's name out of the DOJ's mouth. And he said it was because the DOJ didn't have any black members in the DOJ. Barr actually followed that up and said, you're wrong. We do have black people that we work with. I know I work with black people. That was a dumb statement. Somehow, even if they didn't, that would disqualify AG Barr from having constitutional rights, freedom of speech? No, it would not. And you don't ever have the ability to tell someone to keep their name out of your mouth. Does this sound like something that a congressman says? Like, are we in 7th grade, 8th grade? Did you just serve somebody to make the cool buddy across the room laugh at you? Because that was another embarrassing display. Jim Jordan, guys, and this is where I told you guys at the 40-minute mark it was going to be the best part. I wasn't lying. We're at 43 minutes. This is amazing. Something huge was uncovered in this. Jim Jordan was asking AG Barr about all the people who unmasked General Flynn. In his response, I promise you, sent shockwaves down everyone's spine that is on the side of the left and is part of all this huge scheme. And I'm not just talking about, I'm not just talking about COVID. I'm not just talking about BLM. I'm not just talking about the false flag Floyd. All of it. The whole scheme, the whole money thing that's coming crashing down, the whole 16-year plan with Obama, with everybody, all of those people collectively crapped their pants with what I'm about to tell you. He was asking questions, and Attorney General Barr, in answering a question, he let out that John Bash of Texas is actually the one who's looking at the unmasking that happened. And he also let out that the unmasking was happening over a much longer period of time than previously thought. So people thought that Durham was doing all this. Barr just let the cat out of the bag, that he actually turned all of the unmasking over to a whole nother attorney because there was so much of it and it happened over such a long period of time. No one's known that until just now. Boom! Jim Jordan even said, wow, we didn't know that. Thank you. Ground shattering. Boom week We've been telling you, Q's been telling you, and we've been reiterating this was all going to be huge. I told you in the beginning of this video that today was huge and that the 40-minute mark was huge. That was it. That was huge. I'm sorry, my camera's shaking. I know I'm being a rookie right now. I could smell the crap in their pants. Hakeem Jeffries, another failing Democrat from failing New York, started his line of questions/statements by making baseless claims about the AG being Trump's lawyer and not being the people's lawyer. Again, ignoring all of this stuff. That's baseless. AG Barr's done nothing to prove that. The one time he flexed his muscles, he can clearly provide much precedent to say why he did what he did. So, moving on. I have a bunch of notes here, but I don't have to touch on them. All I'm going to say is they went on again, ignoring all the facts and acting like we the people do not see that they launched a bioweapon to shut down an economy and all the people that were involved in it. I'm not going to reiterate the whole thing again. Gates, the World Health Organization, the Dems, China, Rhino Republicans, and others. The movie industry, Hollywood, everybody's in on it, right? All big thing. We're all learning. If you guys don't know, again, subscribe to the channel. I know this video's getting long. Don't go. This is still good. Don't go. 50% of the deaths in the United States right now, because some facts started getting served up that were really inconvenient again. 50% of the deaths in the United States have all been in nursing homes. Half of the deaths in nursing homes. 50% were in the rest of the United States. Let's also not forget that the death tolls in Democratic cities are significantly higher. Not like a little bit higher. Not like we did a couple of things different higher. Like it's blatantly obvious they're faking it and killing people higher. Okay? It's just, there's no two ways to get around it. Swalwell, another failing Democrat from failing California, went on to try and convince us again that Barr only reduced Stone's sentence by helping to help Trump. Again, ignoring what Barr had clearly pointed out 5 times before that. Just again, didn't let him say anything, just blah, 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 said the same stuff, cut him off. Then, Ted Lieu, another failing Democrat from failing California. California, who's trying to convince us they need more representatives. How many times have you heard me say California? He tried to imply that the feds are out gassing mothers again. So again, he tried to imply they just go out and beat up on women, and not that there are peaceful protesters and that anarchists, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa come and launch paint pails, fireworks, shoot weapons over the peaceful protesters. Lieu is just trying to make it hard for the hit squad to be arrested and stay arrested. His big gripe was that federal people are coming in and stopping these people. Hundreds of people at night, lots of people every night die. Those are the cities federal people are going into to stop the deaths. Lieu is trying to make it hard for those people to be arrested and to stay arrested. Lieu left Barr with no time to answer a single one of his questions. All nonsensical, all claims, not questions, left him no time. We weren't here to listen to a speech from you, Ted Lieu. We were here to hear, it's a hearing for Attorney General Barr. Again, numerous Democrats all come up and just bang through the same things, spewing the same garbage, trying to act like federal agents are in Washington putting people in chokeholds, and that they have nonviolent protesters. We've all seen the videos. We all know that people are dying. Barr had repeatedly during this hearing stated that they were moving a perimeter. They kept bringing up the whole thing that happened in D.C., right? Where some peaceful protesters, because they wouldn't move after multiple times being told, did get some gas. He repeated again that they were moving a perimeter. They didn't just move on protesters. They needed to move a perimeter because people were pushing through perimeters. He said it had nothing to do with the protesters. He said that over and over and over and over and over and over. But the Democrats just kept using their time to say the same things over and over, and I don't think I talk. Val Demings, another Democrat from Florida, was also, and this is where there were times where it wasn't even like they just cut him off. They were just straight up childish and rude. It was embarrassing for our country. She kept cutting him off, just cutting him off, like rudely cutting him off. Do they think that we can't see what they're doing? Do they think we don't see that they're acting like children? Another failing Democrat from California. What am I on? Like my 4th or 5th failing Democrat from failing California? Wouldn't let Barr answer their question. and said, and Barr actually stopped him and said, this was a hearing, and I thought that I was the person supposed to be being heard. So Barr, on multiple occasions, stepped in and said this was ridiculous. So, a few more and then we're done. Mary Gay scandal, another failing Democrat, kept cutting the Attorney General off and talking to him like she was his child, like she was screaming down at him. She then went on to pretend that we haven't seen countless times that they were cheating with mail-in ballots. She attacked the whole mail-in ballot thing. Again, Democrats, we've seen it. Postal people have done it. Federal workers have done it. Everyone. We've seen numerous people cheating. We know that mail's cheating. Miss us with that stuff. She also, this is where it gets good, she went as far as to say that there were states that vote entirely by mail, and she named Utah. Wrong. Utah, who did not vote by mail, will not vote by mail, voted for President Trump. My first time voting ever, and I voted in person. So that's a lie. Sylvia Garcia, Democratic governor from Texas, was very concerned about the amount of prisoners who've attracted the coronavirus. That's how she spent her time. I may sound insensitive when I say this, but if I'm worried about a group of people that I need to not get the virus right now, there's a long list of those people, that on the top of which are people in nursing homes that are being killed on purpose by Democratic governors and mayors. The last group of people, again, call me insensitive, that I'm worried about are prisoners. And I'm surely not releasing them into Democratic cities where they are defunding police and ordering police to stand down. She starts one of her questions/statements off by saying she wanted the Attorney General to explain something. And then she concluded her statement by cutting him off the second he tried to answer. So she said, explain something to me. And then when he started to talk, she cut him off, reclaiming my time. They did this all the time. Like, it was so embarrassing. I was in a group chat with my baker friends, and it was easy. It was like fish in a barrel going off on how stupid these people are. I'm really, really close to the bottom, guys. Don't leave. I can't believe I'm where I'm at time-wise. Please forgive. Their game plan all day was obviously the same, and it was the same Democrat to Democrat. This clearly went out in the 4 a.m. talking points from the deep state. It was not ask questions. It was make statements, make this same set of statements, never give him the chance to respond. That was very, very clear. Democrat Joe Neguse, I think is how you say his name. Don't care if I said it wrong. He's a total idiot. He screamed at Attorney General Barr. No joke, was screaming at him. During his time, I can't even believe what I watched. I really can't. If I were the Attorney General in this situation, I personally would not have sat through what happened to him. The lack of professional courtesy that was shown by Democratic leaders in our country should in itself be enough for all of the people who support them to vote them out. Not only that, these people should show up on the steps of these places peacefully, and I do mean peacefully, asking for jobs. You should all be starting petitions. There should be new petitions. I'm not smart enough to start them. For all these Democratic people who embarrass themselves today to be removed. Then a screaming midget went on to claim that nothing has been done about the claims by President Trump by Biden's lawyers. So he's acting like former Vice President Biden has said some real profound things that the government is ignoring, when it's quite the opposite. They spent 3 years, Mueller report, couldn't find anything, didn't find anything. Mueller didn't know anything. They did thoroughly. And they're actually quite literally ignoring all of the stuff that Biden and his kid and everyone else is clearly involved in Ukraine. He's quite literally being investigated by Ukraine, but we conveniently leave all that out, right? Okay. Lucy McBath, another failing Democrat from Georgia, asked the Attorney General if people with pre-existing conditions would be covered. He started off by answering it and saying, yes, they would be covered. She stopped him and said, hold on, this is the first words out of his mouth were, I'm not making this up, they were literally, yes, people would be covered. But then she stopped him so he couldn't continue. And she said, I will take that answer as a no. He said his answer was yes. And he was trying to explain, and you stopped him and said, I'll take that answer as a no. What the hell? I'm sorry, I swore right now. But look, this is embarrassing. Again, I know I'm laughing not to cry. This is embarrassing. Jim Jordan tried to stop them after they once again used all the time and wouldn't let him go. He said the American people see through this. I'm telling you guys, even Democrats see through this. Not all politicians are crooked. And I'm not trying to say this is just a Democrat thing. But I mean that the normal working class Democrats who have really just not wanted to believe all this. I know that people are waking up to this. I know a lot of logical, sensible Democrats are hanging their heads in shame at their party today. I am certain of that. In closing, Greg Stanton, a Democrat from Arizona, followed suit and never let the Attorney General have an answer. When he did get an answer, he would play the game where he would say that the Attorney General would say something else and then make another statement which answered the question for him, which was a lie. He then at one point stopped the Attorney General from answering a question and said that it was disappointing that we can't get a clear answer from you. He was clearly answering the question when you stopped him. Dude, you, sir, are an idiot. And at the end of Mr. Stanton's embarrassing behavior, I was convinced that it could not get any worse. AG Barr then asked for 5 minutes, and Nadler refused him the 5 minutes. At this point, guys, I told you guys, we're 4 hours plus in, and they wouldn't give him a 5-minute break. Barr responded by telling Nadler, you got in a car accident, and we waited for you for an hour this morning. I haven't had lunch. I'm asking for 5 minutes is all. Jim Jordan got involved and said, dude, come on, give him a break. He's being sensible. Barr still said no and said, we're almost done. Let's just finish. Attorney General Barr, at this point, I was actually really proud of him. He had a great sense of humor. He actually laughed it off and just said, you know what? Okay, Nadler, you're a class act. Let's keep going. At this point, Nadler knew how stupid he looked and he called a recess. So they went to recess, right? Attorney General Barr was literally mentally and verbally and emotionally abused today by the remaining few Democrats. At no point did they ever give him a chance to explain anything or to hear anything he had to say. Their behavior should be condemned by everyone in this country. Everyone. And I'm not going to tell you about any other Democrats. This is the end of it. I am going to make it short of an hour. I can't believe this video is this long. This is going to kill my analytics. For what it's worth, guys, stay to the end of videos, because if you don't, it really hurts the channel. You got to stay. The left lost big today. In closing, this is my statement. I'm going to look at the computer for this because I don't want to screw it up. I watched this in its entirety 2+ times before going back countless times, because I had to keep going back countless times to make notes and to make sure that I heard the ridiculous and embarrassing things the Democrats kept saying today. Today was a big, big loss for the left, not only because of the way that they carried themselves, but because of the things that were uncovered by Barr today, namely the fact that they turned a whole new investigation over about the unmasking that happened. That oddly ironic. Hopefully that helps my shirt sell. But a whole new attorney is looking at the unmasking stuff by himself, and he said there's a lot more of it, and it went on a lot longer. Today was a big loss. I know I missed a lot of what was said because a lot of it was redundant. And even at that, my video ended up being an hour. Again, for what it's worth, today's video was 4.5 hours. I hope you guys didn't hate this. Please leave me in the comments a quick note. Let me know how painful, if today's video was painfully long, it was. And thank you so much to everybody who's helping the channel grow. Things are going swimmingly. I love you all so much. If you saw value, support the channel. One of the links below. Catch you on the next one, RedRacer video. Thank you guys.